Hello friends, today we're making some jelly prints. I'm making some crisp, clean, vibrant jelly prints that are just happy colors and kind of layers. I did make some of my own stencils, but I'll show the instructions for those at the end. So if you're interested, watch to the end, and if you're not interested, then you can just watch the jelly printing. I'm starting with a nice bright yellow. This is just a primary yellow. My plate was pretty sticky, so my paint wasn't rolling out right away, but this yellow, well, it does look really light on the gel plate. It ends up being a nice bright yellow, and I am just taking or picking up the yellow just as is because I wanted that to be my base layer, and then I was going to build some layers on top of this nice bright yellow. I am using rice paper, combination of rice paper and tissue paper for my prints today. This is a fluorescent orange color. It's kind of chunky, but if you roll it out, the chunks kind of go away, so it works out. This is one of my stencils that I made using some flower die cuts. I cut them out on 110-pound Nina white cardstock. And then I took that yellow print that was on the rice paper and I could see through to see where I wanted my little design to show up on the gel print. Then you just press in with rice paper, and it does a really good job of picking up what's between those little pieces, just where the paint is left. And there's a nice transfer of that bright orange onto the yellow. And I didn't press all the way on my top corner of this piece, so a little bit of the orange was still up at the top. I have this kind of fluorescent pink red color, so I rolled that out on top of the orange. And then I'm using my other stencil that I had made with some die cuts. These were word die cuts, and you always have to make sure the words are backwards. I'm just layering that one on top as well. So I've got 3 layers so far. I've got the yellow, the flowers, and the words. So we'll just see what looks good on this. It's a little tricky removing all of those little pieces with the stencil. Okay, so now I have this, it's a clay texture set. So I'm gonna roll out some bright aqua color, and I'm gonna use some of that texturing to give my design a little something extra. To wipe it off in between, I just used one of my microfiber cloths. For this design, the more times I used it, the better my impressions became. Partly because I was learning how much pressure, and partly because I think because of the paint that was on there. Helps pull off more of that paint. I don't know. It just seemed better. So this one is tissue paper. It's a little more thin than the rice paper. For both of them, the rice paper and the tissue paper, I'm pulling my prints on the shiny side or treated side. So you can see a little bit of that, the words that were left on the plate. Now I've got some gold. I'm thinking my prints need a little bit of shine. So this is just 14 karat gold. I cut apart a bag that had firewood in it, and this is one of the pieces I cut out. So it has a really cool texture. This texture actually reminds me of almost like alligator or snake skin or something, but it's pretty cool. So just like a stencil, you just press in to where the paint is on the plate. And then you have this really cool design. This is on the yellow print, and that's the gold. And then I have what's left on the plate, and I'm going to pull that on the blue piece that I was working on with the tissue paper. And you can really see how shiny that is now. Next, I've got this really bright green color. Just gonna roll that out nice and even. This is a metal sheet with a diamond design. I'm putting that onto my blue jelly print one more time here. And then what's left, I'm doing the opposite and going onto the yellow with what's remaining on the plate. Back to my bright blue color, the aqua blue. Now I'm using, this is a stencil from PM Artist Studio designed by Darcy, and this is called Messy Borders. These are some really cool borders and little textures that you can add to your gel prints. So I'm just going to add some of those on the back of this yellow print. I lost track of how many layers we're on this one. We have the yellow, the flowers, the words. We had the gold animal type design. Then we had the little diamonds from the metal. And then Darcy's little messy borders. So we're at 6 layers on that one now. So what was left on the plate, I did let it dry, and then I put a fluorescent pink over the back of it. And this is another tissue paper, and I did have a tiny little bit of a design on this one from a prior print session. It was also Darcy's stencil. This was the forest floor. You can see that's that pink on the page. And then it has that nice blue and green from the messy borders. This is a fuchsia that I'm mixing in with my bright orange. And I'm just going to make them an ombre. Then this is another one of Darcy's stencil designs called Roses, Always and Forever. Putting that one over my blueprint. Haha, blueprint. And there we have a nice ombre of that pink and orange that looks really nice against that blue. While that paint is still wet from those leftover roses, I am pulling the rest of those roses up on the yellow print. That makes layer number 7 on this one. We're gonna go with lucky number 7 and stop there. So that's all the layers I'm gonna pull onto this print. Now I've got some of that green and some fluorescent yellow, or the primary yellow. And I'm also making those into an ombre. And I'm going on using the roses print, but the leaves area. I'm removing them with some tissue paper. I did let that dry, and then this is a coral metallic color. And I'm using these little clay impressions to just take a little flower impression on this background. I'm going to use a little more of that mesh. And right over those flower petals that I had pulled in the greenery, I'm just gonna pull the rest of that print. The metallic is a pretty light see-through color, so you could still see the yellow behind it. Next, I'm going to mix up the blue and the green again to make an ombre. Use more of the firewood bag. And now I'm going to put my little DIY stencil and pull from that print I had just made, pull a little bit of this flower design and leaf design. When I pulled the stencil off, there was still a lot of paint left at the top, so I just pulled the rest of that paint onto the same print. And now I'm using a violet, bright violet color, more of the messy borders. And on that same print, I'm just gonna put some of those messy borders layered up onto this background. This was that print that I had done on top of the forest floor stencil print, and so I'm pulling just a little more interest so that it has more of that pink in other areas. Putting the gold back down. And I had waited for that pink to dry completely, or the violet. This is back to rice paper. I'm going to try to get 2 prints out of this piece, side by side. So this is the pink and the gold behind it. And I'm just going to pull some of these roses with the blue and the green onto that pink and gold background. And those colors really pop. Having the blue and green on top of that pink and gold, it looks really nice. I let that dry, and then I put the pink and the orange on the top of these flowers. And I have this very large leaf. I'd used this in another gel print session. I'm just gonna press in and remove a lot of that paint just so that I have the nice vein of the leaf left. This is kind of like a blue iridescent top coat. Looks like purple on screen. And I'm using the other side of the rice paper next to that flower one to pull the print. And I'll show you what that print looks like when I go through them here. So this is that yellow one that had the 7 layers. This is the print that had quite a few layers also. It had the metallic coral color in the background there. This is the print that I had just pulled with the blue top coat in the background, and then that leaf shape with those roses. And then this one had the blue and green over the pink and gold background. The pretty light blue to green, and then the pink on top of this one. And this one I think is my favorite. It's very shiny, but it has kind of simple layers on this one, but it's very, very lively. Those roses are really pretty too. They're not just a single color, they pick up on different colors. So I think these are all really beautiful prints, and they're gonna be really easy to maybe do a collage with, because they're the easier papers to collage with, being that they're rice paper and tissue paper. So I am definitely looking forward to trying something with these prints. Which one is your favorite? I don't know. I like the ones with the roses, and I think that one with the leaf design looks really cool, but I definitely think the bright blue background is my favorite one. So I hope you enjoyed watching this part of the video. This is the jelly printing. In just a few minutes, I'll show you how I made those die cuts. If you have a die cutting machine and you want to make your own stencil, you can go through your stash to see what kind of die cuts you have. I just happened to choose these are thinlits, and this just happened to be like a little flower and pretty leaf designs that were in this set. So I pulled out all of those designs, the ones that I thought that I might use. And then I just laid them on my piece of paper. This is 110-pound cardstock, and I just started going through. I didn't put all my designs down because I didn't want them moving around, and then I also wanted to see where I wanted to layer them. For example, this flower, I kind of layered over the stems of those two leaves, and then that kind of made it look like they were connected. And this one, I also connected like in one of the leaves. I'm trying to make it look like they all are working together. So I just went through and kept layering on my design until I was happy with how the whole thing looked. And I did end up making another stencil, and this one was using some thin and tall die cut alphabet letters that I had. At first I was going to go with like a really random, kind of all over the place design. But then I realized it would be kind of cool to have some words since I have word dies. So my first word I spelled out was prism. And then I just had an H at the bottom just because. Filled in the space. And then I just carefully remove all of the die cuts. And I'm okay that there's those big spaces in between those words, because that is going to pull through more of the design. This is my mess that I had going on as I was doing these. They get a little messy. And these are my stencils completed, and that's what I used in my video. So I hope you had fun watching, and I will see you in the next video. Happy crafting!